On her maiden voyage, the training ship Royalist under all plain sail. For the Sea Cadet Corps, it's like a dream come true. Their very own ship to give offshore training in sail to 1,000 boys a year. But then sailing has never been more popular than it is today. Dinghies powder the waters of lakes, reservoirs and rivers. Small cruisers slip in and out of creeks and harbors all along the coast. Or greatly daring, venture across the channel. We want to get away from the frantic modern world. And what better way to do it? We even make heroes of the men who sail the world alone, people like Chichester, the first of the modern-day heroes circumnavigating the world. Or the unassuming greengrocer from Southsea, Alec Rose, who sailed around the world because he wanted to, and got a knighthood for his courage. And Che Blythe, who likes doing things the hard way. First, he rows across the Atlantic. Then he sails around the world against the prevailing winds. Even offshore racing, very much a minority sport, is beginning to get a public following. Of course, it helps to have a Prime Minister on the team, to attract the press and newsreel cameras. But the fact remains that more people know that Britain won the Admiral's Cup in 1971 than ever before had even heard of it. But then we've always believed that the sea was in our blood. Certainly, the sea was the key to Britain's history. And men like Drake and Nelson did more to make her great than anyone else. While the days of glory and empire may be gone, the Navy still remembers its greatest hero, Horatio Nelson. On this Trafalgar Day, October 21st, 1970, there's a beginning as well as a remembering. A few miles away, in Groves and Guttridge's yard at Cowes in the Isle of Wight, a keel is to be laid. After years of fundraising, the training ship Royalist is about to become reality. With due ceremony, the first two plates of the steel keel are welded together by Mrs. Veronica Scott. And the cadets approve. Royalist, with 76 feet of deck, has a displacement of 80 tons. This means that she's big enough to carry 6 officers and instructors and 26 cadets. She was designed by Colin Mudie in close collaboration with Maureen Scott, the Sea Cadets offshore sail training officer, to be as efficient and suitable a training ship as possible. A design, in fact, that was to win an award. Lloyd's Register of Shipping presented their yacht trophy to Royalist as the most outstanding yacht of 1971 for design, materials and workmanship. Vice Admiral Sir Hugh Mackenzie received the trophy on behalf of the Sea Cadet Corps. In the past, the Sea Cadet Corps have had to charter or borrow boats for deep-sea training. Kenya Jacaranda, for instance. Another old friend is Centurion, in which the Sea Cadets began their offshore training by winning their section of the 1966 Tall Ships Race. During the 1970 season, the Sea Cadets sailed in Juana, which has the advantage of being square-rigged like the sailing ships of old. This is ideal from the training point of view because it means plenty of work aloft for the boys, and it breaks the sail area up into more manageable sizes. Royalist, too, is a square-rigged vessel. While Royalist's sail plan may be old-fashioned, nothing else about her is. A model of her hull was put through its paces in a testing tank at the University of Southampton to test her performance in any conditions. Her lines are more like those of an ocean racer than anything else. Her design speed is 12 knots under sail, and she's been made as seaworthy as modern methods know how. Gradually, the lines of the plan take shape, first on the moulding floor, where the steel plates are cut to shape, and then on the ship itself. Much of the material for building the ship, including the steel itself, was given to the Sea Cadets by well-wishing companies. Even so, there was a lot of money to raise, £60,000 in all. Just in case the wind should let her down, two 100-horsepower diesel engines are fitted. After all, she has a timetable to stick to. Although Royalist is built in modern materials by modern methods, there's still room for tradition. A few miles from the shipyard at Wootton Creek, Jack Whitehead and Norman Gaches carved the figurehead and stern badge. Like some gigantic jigsaw puzzle, the pieces come together. With the hull almost finished, the tempo quickens. Below, all the clutter of fitting out. Doors and hatches, bunks and basins, piping, wiring, all the thousand things that make a ship. Then the finishing touches. And as if to set the seal on the finished ship, the figurehead is fitted. At last, it's all done. And once again, the crowds gather for another big day, the launching. July 12th, 1971, 9 months after the laying of the keel. Countess Cairns, wife of the president of the Navy League, officiated at the launching. The bottle poised and ready. And among the spectators, none more anxious than the men who built her. That awful moment of hesitation. And then she goes. And takes to the water as if she knew it was her home. The first square-rigged ship to be built in Britain for more than 60 years is well and truly launched. A day of fulfillment for the Building and Design Committee, led by General Thomas. With the ship warped safely alongside, the spectators can take their first good look at the dream come true. Maureen Scott sees years of training ahead. For others, there are voyages to plan and harbours to dream of. Or the sheer adventure of a trick at the wheel, or a spell aloft. But a sailing ship isn't truly alive until she has her masts. For Royalist, there are two, each made of aluminium and 70 feet tall. Stepping a mast is a tricky business. For over 2,000 years, it's been the custom to put a coin under the mast of sailing ships to appease the gods of sailormen. A golden sovereign, the gift of the governor of the Bank of England, goes under Royalist foremast. The date on the coin is 1817, the first year sovereigns were minted. The heel of the mast seats itself firmly over the sovereign and is promptly wedged home. All that remains is the fitting of literally miles of rigging. Like a lady in her best dress, Royalist waits for her most distinguished visitor yet. The royal barge brings Princess Anne to name the ship. Usually, a ship gets her name when she's launched. But in the case of Royalist, it was decided to split the two ceremonies. Accompanied by Rear Admiral the Earl Cairns and Royalist Captain Commander Wheeler, Princess Anne looked over the ship. Her father, the Duke of Edinburgh, is Admiral of the Sea Cadet Corps. It's holiday mood at Cowes for the third big day in Royalist life, August 3rd, 1971. As Princess Anne unveils a plaque, Jack Whitehead's beautifully carved stern badge is also uncovered. The Sea Cadet's chaplain blessed the ship, and Princess Anne was given a gold medallion as a memento. The ship's company go aloft, not to set sail, but to pay a traditional compliment to a distinguished visitor. Man and cheer ship. With the pomp and ceremony left behind, Royalist settles down to work as she slips out of Cowes Harbour on her first cruise. The diesels have taken her out into clear water. Now it's time to set sail. The jib can be set from the deck, but most of the sails are set the hard way, from aloft. When you're new to it, it seems an awfully long way up. But within a day or two, the boys are vying with each other to be first up and highest. They've even been heard singing up there in a force 8 gale. It looks dangerous, and in a sense it is. 50 feet above the deck on a plunging yard, with only a foot rope to stand on, perhaps in the dark and in a gale, is no place to make silly mistakes. But this is what sail training is all about. The boys are asked to use their knowledge and their common sense. That's what seamanship means. And in the process, they find in themselves courage and self-confidence that they never knew they had. At sea in a square rigger, boys quickly become men. But perhaps it's just as well that this first day of the first cruise is fairly calm. On deck, there's an apparent confusion of ropes in all directions. But each bit of running rigging, 7 miles altogether, has a job to do. Work just like this gave birth to the shanties that sailors sing to this day. With all sail up, the master makes the final adjustments to their set. In his job, you need lungs of leather and a voice of brass. An India rubber neck is useful too. After the bustle of setting sail, a calm falls over the ship as she heels into the wind and picks up speed. All those years of planning, saving, scrounging, all the painting, polishing and preparation reach a quiet climax with a curtsy of a forefoot, a lean on the deck and the wind in the rigging. But you can't think deep thoughts for long at sea. There's too much to do. A shift of the wind, perhaps, or an alteration of course. You can't throw a ship like this around like a sailing dinghy. Stand by to wear ship. With the ship settled on her new course, the watch on deck square everything up. And the crew for a week delight in showing off their seamanship under the professional eye of an American destroyer.
Hold it, keep it steady. Now then, there you are. You see that? Right. You can now set a course of 290.
Below, the most popular man on board, the cook, on loan from the Navy, gets dinner ready. Appetites are huge at sea and quantity comes first. Good, plain food, and lots of it. The boys eat and sleep in their mess deck. Each has his own bunk and locker, and the ship is centrally heated. Not to make the boys soft, but to extend the season in which the ship can work. Life quickly settles into a routine. Watch on, watch off. And the daily routine includes instruction in radio and engineering, as well as seamanship. Royalist is fitted with modern radio equipment, including a receiver for obtaining weather maps at sea. And like every modern ship, she's equipped with radar, essential in thick weather and very useful at night. 8 bells, call the watch below.
Evo, Evo, Evo. That comes slow. Come on, out of it. Come on then, out you get.
Day and night, the ship's routine goes on. Under the dim light, the pencil line on the chart moves steadily on. Starboard bow light burning bright. Bow lookout relieved. Nothing in sight. A new hand at the wheel.
Mission for Leighton Seaman Dunkley to take the wheel, sir.
Very good.
Leighton Seaman Dunkley on the wheel, sir. Course 290.
Very good.
Wheel relieved. Course 290. Sailing full and by. Royalist sails on through the night towards her landfall. And then comes another day. Soon there'll be another cruise with another crew. And so it will go on for the whole of Royalist's active life, just beginning. Many of the cadets who sail in her will go on to make the sea their career, in the Royal or Merchant Navy or the fishing fleet. But anyone who sails in Royalist will be able to make a significantly greater contribution to whatever career they may choose. For now, the 20,000 members of Britain's Sea Cadet Corps truly have a ship of their own.